Or it says we are. Maybe we are. Oh, okay.
Okay, we are unmuted and getting ready to start our meeting. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Trish Christensen. I'm President and CEO of Modesto Chamber of Commerce, and this is the October Government Relations Council meeting. Thank you for your patience while we had people streaming in and grabbing food. Michael, you want to go take it from there?
Sure. Thank you, Trish. Michael Gaffney, current chair of the Government Relations Council. I'm also with PG&E for my day job. As Trish mentioned, this is the GRC meeting for the month of October. Packed agenda as far as report outs, and then a very special guest speaker with us who will be joining momentarily. Can the folks on the line hear us okay? I'm looking at you, John. If you can nod, I see. Okay, Sarah, perfect. All right, thank you very much. When we get to Q&A, you'd want to come off mute and ask your questions, so be prepared for that. So we'll call the meeting to order at 11:40 a.m. Has anybody had a chance to read the meeting minutes from September that should have been included in the meeting packet? If so, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the meeting minutes? Okay, and then second, Christine, perfect. All in favor, aye. Anyone opposed? Excellent, thank you so much. We will move right into report outs. Well, should we do introductions?
Yeah.
There's some new folks in the room. Okay, why don't we do that? Trish introduced herself as CEO of the Chamber. Chairman of GRC. We want to go this way.
Hello, I'm Liz. I'm the membership coordinator at the chamber.
Justin Farkas, representing Assemblyman Juan Alanis's district office.
Abby Pendleton, also representing Assemblyman Juan Alanis's office.
Yeah, I'm glad representing Congressman Belwood's office. John Beckman, Building Industry Association.
Todd Aronson, visit Modesto.
My name is Rosenthal, Supervisor Canfield.
And you know, public relations director for Students County CEO's office.
Patrick Shields, fills in for Stanislaus.
If you'd like to just take a seat for a moment.
Manny Greenwald.
Steve Madison with Stanislaus County Affordable Housing Corporation.
Christy Schwamhager, Valley Builders Exchange and board member.
Ethan Hunt with MID. Alan Zacharias, President, Zacharias Advancement Consulting.
Chris Boyette, Zacharias, and I'm the chamber board chair.
Jacob, why don't you two reps introduce yourself?
Everyone, Jacob Holder, Senator Mel Rodriguez.
Stephanie Suarez.
And welcome.
Good morning, Senator Maria Alvarado Gill.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Welcome. Thank you for joining. How about the folks on the line?
Sarah Orgel, NorCal NECA.
John Vines, Modesto Gospel Mission, and also on the board of the chamber.
Is that it? Online? Okay, perfect. Okay, excellent. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move into report outs. Anybody with the city of Modesto that would like to give a report out? Oh, thank you very much. Perfect, thanks. City of Modesto absent? Speak now. Okay.
Jacob, you guys can take a seat right here if you want.
Yeah, and please help yourself to food and a beverage there. And there's a agenda on the table there. Stanislaus County?
The only thing I really think that the report is that October 3rd, airport. The California legislative with one of 7 governors throughout the state who launched this, so it's kind of a big project. They have a website with some FAQs on who's eligible, and I think one of the biggest misconceptions that we're seeing is this is not really to combat the homelessness issue, but to really address the needs and concerns for those people that are on the highest end of mental health necessity. So if you have any questions, let me know, but we've been putting out a lot of information. Again, like I said, we're one of 7 governors in the state right now that are going through that.
And a reminder to please send that to us to
Yes.
share out for you.
Okay, yeah, I'll note that. Assemblyman Juan Alanis's office, Justin?
Yeah, so
Justin again from Assemblymember Alanis's office. For those of you who were here at the Green Team meeting yesterday, you might have heard a little bit about some legislative victories that we saw this year. October 14th was the deadline for Governor Newsom to sign any legislation he saw fit into law. We were really grateful to announce that all 5 bills that we sent to his desk were signed and approved by him. So that includes bills regarding anonymity for victims of child abduction and kidnapping, some pertaining to the horse racing industry, and various others related to the realm of public safety.
Excellent. Any questions for the Assemblyman's office? All right. We will skip over the Senator's office, which we'll be hearing from shortly. Move into Congressman Tom McClintock's office. I didn't see Bob or Kim on the line. No. Absent. How about Congressman John Duarte's office? Gavin.
Good afternoon, everyone. Gavin Klein from Congressman Duarte's office. Just want to give a quick update on a bill that we just co-sponsored, which is a key piece of our legislation. As well as talk about the current status of Washington, D.C. Congressman Duarte has been extremely hard at work, advocating for the Congressional District 13's priorities here. And he's working tirelessly to pass responsible budget bills. Congressman Duarte funded the federal government with the continuing resolution for the additional 45 days. It was a bipartisan continuing resolution to prevent a government shutdown, providing us with adequate time to pass budget bills for the upcoming fiscal year. With where we're at now, Congressman Duarte is ready to get back to work on behalf of the American people, ready to conduct legislation on behalf of our district and America as a whole. And also moving our country forward as we are in a standstill right now. Another piece of some key legislation that we were just able to co-sponsor was the Rural Hospital Technical Assistance Program Act. It's HR 4713. It provides much needed support to rural hospitals by offering them resources and guidance necessary to remain open and continuing serving their communities. It includes technical assistance and financial management, infrastructure upgrades, healthcare innovation. This bill ensures that families can receive the medical attention they deserve regardless of their zip code where they are. Another one we want to talk about is our Service Academy nominations. Our deadline is coming up on October 31st. And those are for high school students, preferably seniors. Freshmen to juniors are also who are interested and learn more about it, but we will be giving out, I believe it's 12 nominations to people who are interested in Service Academy, the United States Navy, West Point, Air Force, Merchant Marine, are those that offer those nominations. So if anybody's interested or knows somebody who is, please have them reach out to myself or our office, and information for the application is on our website. And the website is duarte.house.gov. Thank you guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for Gavin? We will move into utility updates. I don't see any, but yes, please.
Represent the business community as recommended in the District Chamber of Commerce to the community system of care. And we're the collaborative council that distributes housing funding in Stanislaus County for priority housing. We just distributed through a competitive process 4.3 million in support of housing vouchers. We have other funding that's arrived from the state of California that we will be competitively bidding for additional funds for affordable housing. It's a little more flexible than the federal government money, the money coming from the state. And I'll keep the chamber apprised of how we move that through. The meetings are the third Thursday of every month. They're held at the Ag Center at 2:30. They are open to the public. I initially sort of dreaded another committee, but there's actually some very interesting presentations, and all the agencies that collaborate around the table. It's a good mix of folks, and folks bring good experiences and good knowledge to the table. So that's
Excellent. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for supporting that committee. Let us know if there's anything we can do by way of letter support or what have you. Excellent. Run it by us. Does someone join online?
Yes.
Oh, Diana with the city of Modesto. We can circle back if you'd like to give us an update. We also have council member Eric Alvarez that just joined in person. If you'd like to give us an update from the city of Modesto, not to put you on the spot.
Oh, she
I'll
just
do first.
dropped.
She dropped? Oh, city staff drop. Back to you, Eric.
We just got done with, our homeless, a special city council meeting on homeless. Which, you know, we had a healthy debate, motion was made, to urge the city manager and staff to submit a proposal, for December, but that motion failed. But what we got a good debate, a good, not necessarily an argument, but a good, exchange of substantive dialogue, if you will. And I think it was a lot of information for the public to hear, how it affects, small businesses throughout the city, and how we can combat, the negative effects of homelessness throughout, Modesto and the surrounding area. But specifically, we're hearing a lot on how it affects small businesses, the life left over for homeless folks. Yeah, that, I just came to that, and so that's really what, I wanted to report in terms of how homeless affects economic development, how homeless affects our existing businesses, our parks and our youth. So, I can elaborate more, but I'll defer to staff if they're online.
It looks like Diana has rejoined. Diana, do you have anything you'd like to add to Councilmember Alvarez's comments?
No, I briefly heard my name and then it threw me out for an update. So my apologies for that. I think he's provided the update of this morning, right? Councilmember Alvarez, I think that was all I had on my end as well.
Okay, great. Any questions for the city of Modesto? Going back to utilities again, AT&T, Comcast look to be absent. League of California Cities, I received an email from Stephen Qualls, who's out traveling. MID, anything from you, Ethan? Did our dearest friend Dana equip you with any talking points you'd like to share with us?
We just celebrated 100 years of power, so it's a pretty big deal for us, so yeah.
I saw the banner there on Woodland Avenue. Congratulations. 100 years of serving water and power. Very nice milestone. Okay. Chris, do you have any business announcements you'd like to share with us? I know we had a successful Touch a Truck event at the end of last month and a successful ribbon cutting at the Modesto Children's Museum, who happens to be our neighbor here around the corner, and many others. The floor is
Sure, we
yours.
did a ribbon cutting this week. We've done one hot mama salsa. She has a great story. Not being able to return to the line of work she was doing before a stroke and then long COVID. She launched an at-home salsa business and she's doing very well. We also did a ribbon cutting at the Modesto Garden Club. They are in their 100th year, and that was a very special ribbon cutting to be a part of. For those who had not heard our Touch a Truck event, we counted over 2,500 attendees for our first time out. So we're feeling really excited about that and look forward to next year's event. On November 30th will be our next Inspire Youth, Inspire Dreams Career Exploration Expo, targeted specifically to 8th graders. And we are striving to have every business industry sector represented in vendor booth spaces at that event. So when the 8th graders come in, it's sort of like speed dating for career exploration. We moved 4,200 8th graders through on our first round in January. We expect to be closer to 5,000 or 6,000 this time. It's an opportunity for you to have a face-to-face engagement with 8th graders before they ballot for high school career pathways. So it's a specifically targeted time to spark interest in them when they start making selections as to what they grow and learn in high school when they move on. So other than that, the third week of January will be our next annual awards soiree, and information will come out on that probably next month.
Remind me how many folks you expect at the Inspire Youth event?
We anticipate between 5,000 and 6,000.
That's what I thought I heard you say. Wow, not 500 or 600, 5,000 to 6,000. And what school districts all across the Central
We
Valley here?
launch it countywide. We have far more uptake from the Modesto City school districts that feed into the high schools here. We're working over this year into next year. Getting high school pathways from other districts represented, which would make it worthwhile for them to bus the eighth graders here as well. So this is going to be a continually growing platform.
Excellent. And that is at the MJC Ag Pavilion. Excellent.
It is on November 30th. But I will say, I have to add, it's not open to the public in the sense that we can't have random adults, businesses just show up. It is a controlled school environment. So if you are a vendor there, there's access in. Of course, if you have staff that needs to come and go, of course, we will accommodate that. But we will not, as you see our collateral out there, be promoting the times and location in print so as to keep control of that. So that will be missing on purpose when you see it.
Okay. And then the membership award soiree is at the third week of January at the DoubleTree again?
Doubletree.
Okay, excellent.
Oh,
Thank
the
you.
convention center.
Yeah, okay. Cinder Plaza, in other words.
It is on January 25th,
25th, okay. Noted.
which is a Thursday.
All right. Any questions for Trish? Okay. Today's guest speaker is Senator Marie Alvarado Gil, who represents District 4. California State Senator Marie Alvarado Gil was elected in 2022, so very newly elected, and represents the counties of Alpine, Amador, Calaveras, El Dorado, Inyo, Madera, Mariposa, Merced, Mono, Nevada, Placer, Stanislaus, and Tuolumne counties, and is an independent leader in the legislature. Senator Alvarado Gil is the chair of the Senate Human Services Committee and serves on several committees, including agriculture, business and professionals, government organization, insurance, military and veterans, and is the Senate liaison to the California Department of Education's Advisory Commission on Special Education. In addition, she is the vice chair of the Rural Caucus and active in the Problem Solvers Caucus, both common sense coalitions for bipartisan, that's a word I've never seen, bicameral policymaking. Excellent. Without further ado, Senator, the floor is yours. Please make yourself at home. And really, the format of this is entirely up to you, whatever you're most comfortable with. If you choose to hold questions until the end, or if you want to have more of a conversation where you encourage questions throughout, it's entirely up to you. So thank you for having being here with us.
I like more of an interactive, so,
Would you like to stay seated or are you going to stand? I need to
I'll
adjust the
probably stay seated, but I'm trying to find your camera angle.
So it'll be me, Jacob. Would you mind moving
Yeah.
a seat to your left for me, please? That's why I stood up to ask.
All right. If it doesn't work, I'll move closer here. Actually,
And this is your speaker and camera, and I will follow you if you move.
okay. Can I go?
You're fine.
How about that? Is that better?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, so I do like an interactive format, so, please, just kind of jump in, good questions. I really want to spend this time with all of you. I've been seeing these meetings throughout the year, and usually I'm in session these days, so being able to kind of grab an October audience with you all is my humble privilege to do that. And what I may do is just ask for this time slot every year so that I can just put it on my calendar. But I know Jacob has been representing our office, and then Destiny is here today. That also works on our Destin team. We had a great opportunity this year to open up our industrial office on 15th Street, and we are now planning our open house for the holidays, getting all of that information. Look forward to seeing you. Our other office is in the town center in El Dorado Hills. And we were very strategic in where we put our district offices because we are a business friendly, policy minded team. And having our offices centrally located not only to our constituents, but to where our constituents play, work, bring their families. So please come visit us if you have not. And then please get our business cards from Jacob and Destiny if you have not met them either. So a little bit about me. This is my first run of office. I live in Jackson, Amador County. As you saw, I have a big list of counties that I represent. It is a little over 1 billion people. Each senator we represent about the same. But by far, we have the largest land mass. Also the most farm bureaus in my district. most diverse politics. And I probably have the biggest mileage reimbursement report at the end of the month. We'll see. Once the pundits come out with their report cards on us, right? So yeah, I love Senate District 4. It runs from Nevada County over by the basin, all the way down the eastern backbone of Inyo County to Death Valley, with east of the 99, all of Stanislaus being that heart and soul of our district. So as you can imagine, some of the issues that unite us, where my main focus is water, wildfire, insurance, and both homeowners insurance, business, and ag, as well as infrastructure. So we have the most amazing ecotourism sites in Senate District 4, Mono Basin, Lake Tahoe, Yosemite. We've got a balance of federal forest lands, state forest lands. We have also the most tribes in our district as well. So you could probably say Senate District 4 is its own little state within California. We also have control of the waterheads. Hetch Hetchy, like we control the movement of water outside of our region into California. So we may not have the constituent base of Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Bay Area, but we are resource rich, and we're tall and mighty. So I come in with the voice of not a traditional politician, but someone who believes in kind of uniting the voice around the issues that are important to us. I believe in access and being present. So you'll see me in the district probably a lot more often than you're used to. I'm not a celebrity, I'm a public servant, and my job is to serve all of you. So if you're not seeing me, you don't have contact with me, then I'm not doing my job. And last but not least, authenticity. So those are values that I really carry into how I work and how I work with our team. We are also one of the only teams in both the Senate and the Assembly that has 3 different party registrations. We have Republicans, Democrats, and Independents in party preferences. And that is by design, because our district is by design reflects those demographics. So for me, that's really important that we represent our people, our constituents, and our parties. Now, all of you have been involved in politics for a long time, and you understand, that it is a navigation, it's a dance. But again, if I'm going to live my values, I need to make sure that my votes represent our constituents. And you're going to see me voting against my party, registered party is Democrat. And you're going to see me co-authoring and building relationships with my colleagues in the Assembly, as well as in the Republican Party. And is it popular? No, it's not popular. Is it correct? It is. And why is it correct? Because this is the way that we actually get good policy done. And if I am beholden to, will I get elected again? Will I get this sponsorship or that endorsement? That is going to cloud me from being able to serve all of you with the dollar. So that's me in a nutshell. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about our legislation and what we did this year. So as probably, well, we'll see what the pundits say, but the most conservative in the Senate, I look at how we spend our dollars here in California. We have an incredible economy. Yet I don't see the results and the impact that I want to see with those billions of dollars that we invest, whether it's homelessness or public education. So that's really what catapulted me into pursuing this role, is taking my experience of being born and raised in California, opening businesses, failing at opening those businesses, raising my family, being successful at opening several high-performing charter schools throughout the Bay Area, and really thinking about what type of impact I wanted to leave in California now that my grandson was born, and knowing that the California dream is shattered for so many of our young families and youth. So I know that this isn't unique to a lot of you who are in the room as well. We want to know that we can have a history, a legacy, and not have to uproot our families and businesses and applicants from California. So that to me makes this a personal public service journey, not a political one. So you'll also hear me say that a lot is, what's personal to me, not political. So the bills that I worked on this year, I'll tell you, I was not very successful in passing bills, but I was successful in meeting the values of our district and standing up to what people would tell me, it's not worth it, don't waste your time. So one bill that I'll tell you was very specific to my personal story. It was our rape bill, Senate Bill 268. And did you know that here in California, that if you get drugged and then raped, it is less of a consequence or offense that if someone just violently attacks you and rapes you. That to me is asinine. You know, we have so many laws that my goal is not to spread more laws that we have to figure out what to follow, but to disband and to highlight those laws that don't make sense. And that we need to come forward as legislators to highlight and say, yeah, it's probably going to be an uphill battle, but I'm going to keep on bringing this forward to make sure that our constituents know that this is the California where our tax dollars go. Now, one bill that I helped to co-author and that was successful was Senator Groves' human trafficking bill, but she spent years and had dozens and dozens of women and parents testifying. And we were able to move that forward with her tenacity and perseverance. But this is the California that we're in. We're in a California where consequences are, well, the word rehabilitation trumps consequences. Now, what does rehabilitation mean? Well, it depends who you ask. But for me, what it means is our streets are no longer as safe as when I grew up. Our businesses are being susceptible to smash and grabs and other violent activity that makes the bottom dollar really fall through the premises. And that's not the California that I want my grandson to live in, and I don't want for all of you as well. So for me, law and order policy around public safety is a priority for me, which means that I put forward 5 bills on public safety, not a single one got through the assembly. The assembly has what I call a dictatorship in the assembly, and I've said that on the floor. I got 2 bills out of the state Senate, which through strategically navigating with my colleagues who I built strong relationships with, I was able to do that. Doesn't mean that I've given up. I'm going to keep coming back. So I'm going to keep seeing fentanyl bills from me, violent crime bills, felony bills around cannabis grows, and then working very closely with my 13 county sheriffs and with our badges. Other areas that we worked on, coming from the background in education, I looked at post-pandemic and wanted to make sure that we gave our educators a moratorium on any standardized testing as our kiddos and our families were looking at how to get back to school. Was not popular with the strongest union in California, which is the California teachers. I love teachers, don't get me wrong. California Teachers Association outspends banking, petroleum, and pharma combined in California. So there's a lot of power, a lot of money there. But what really my bill was about is give our educators time to catch up, give our kids and families time to get our mental health and social emotional priorities straight, our housing, our food, before we're saying, hey, you're failing at reporting. That bill got swept under the rug, but I was very happy that I was able to build some trailer bill language to be able to put that into our budget. So really being strategic about how I approach different issues. The 2 bills that we were able to get through, one was around transportation on the Eastern Slope. Our Eastern Mono Inyo has not had strong representation for decades, and so to be able to give them a very simple solution around transportation roads for me was a low-hanging fruit. And the other one was really about making sure that we can streamline the processes for our ad partners. Being that our district has the largest food distribution, manufacturing, growing, harvesting, planting than all of California, it is our duty to ensure that we have strong ag policies. So that's what you're going to see coming from me. On the side, of course, wildfire insurance. I'm the only member of the Assembly and Senate that is on the fire plan insurance. That's that multi-$1,000 insurance policy that covers a smidgen. And, that doesn't even have any bearing on what our constituent businesses are dealing with. They're dealing with, sometimes 400 to 500% increases in coverage for their businesses, their homes, just their ag land. So a lot of things that have come across our desk, but I will say the most successful, but I think our team really wear proudly is that we were able to bring $53 million right back to Senate District 4 into rural communities here in Modesto or Stanislaus County. We were able to fund a park in west side of Turlock that had not received funding in 30 years. We did matching funding for West Modesto for infrastructure, for sidewalks that the state had promised you guys for over a decade. So we were able to push that funding. We did some investment with Stanislaus County Community Foundation, specifically into Latino leadership. We just dropped off a couple $100,000 there. And then we're continuing. We're continuing to make sure that there are carve outs for rural communities, that our Central Valley gets its fair share of opportunity to apply and compete for those grants to make sure that money's moving forward, and creating that thread that makes us not only all Californians, but makes us Senate District 4, which I will argue to the mat is the best district here in California. So that is me. I didn't see any hands going up, so I didn't pause, but please, let's engage in some conversation and question.
Insurance.
Yes, insurance.
So the, and you experienced the wildfire stuff yourself. But the insurers that are leaving California, meaning homeowners, everybody who lives in a home, potentially at risk for losing the ability to use their home insurance, get a mortgage, and that puts you at risk. Forced into the FAIR Plan, everything goes up. The alternative is to allow the insurance companies to raise rates on everybody, and everybody's rates go up that way also. So either way, all of our rates are going to go up somewhat. And Commissioner Lara came in and allowed some expansions in certain areas, which is a nice stopgap to help stop the bleeding. But as long as insurance companies are still leaving California, we've got fewer choices and we're all more at risk of losing homeowners insurance. So is there a legislative plan or blueprint or task force of folks like yourself who are going to work on solving the problem?
Yes, there actually is. So I serve on the Senate Insurance Committee, and we had a work group specifically around moving a urgency bill in these last few weeks of the legislature. And I'll tell you, this was with the support of Commissioner Lara, this was with the support of the governor and leadership in the Senate, where it got stalled in the Assembly. And it got stalled in Assembly, not with our partners, Assemblymember Alatas and Flora are excellent partners, have been stewards for the Central Valley. We work very closely together. This is really coming more from Southern California Assembly that don't experience every day the impact that we feel in the high fire areas. So I was very disappointed. It was a few hours before the close of the gavel that we heard that it was not going to pass and it was going to go to the executive order. So that's what you saw was the executive order to expand. Now, all constituents are going to be getting a letter from me, and if you're not getting my weekly email, you should be getting it. So talk to Destiny over there. But we did submit a letter to Commissioner Lara to ensure that we have voice on the advisory committee to identify where the high risk areas are, because one of the executive orders is to allow rate increases with the understanding that insurance companies would absorb some of the bleeding areas, some of those high risk areas, but it's not defined in legislation. So that's where we need to make sure that there is a clear definition so that we don't get to a situation where our district is covering the cost and the burden of taking care of the second homes, the playground, most beautiful areas of California. Because frankly, without us living in these areas, taking care of the economy, hospitality, tourism, roads, restaurants, then where is California going to come to ski? Where are they going to come to enjoy our rivers and outdoors?
In talking to the insurance professional, which I'm not one, I learned that if you harden your house, like the famous one over in Hawaii that burned down,
right,
and it had all that stuff around it protected it. If you do that stuff, you don't get any credit currently. Would you support legislation that would tell the insurance companies you have to give somebody credit or reduce their rates if they meet this criteria of hardening their house, which
I don't think it's insurance companies' responsibility. Reason why is this. So I have 5 acres and I'm responsible for taking care of my acreage. Now, I'm not responsible for my neighbors. I have no control over them. They have the freedom of what they want to do. But I do have, my border butts up to infinite acres of state land. Now, whether or not the state feels their responsibility to do clearing, I have no control over. Fire doesn't discriminate and says, oh, your house looks pretty good, I'm gonna jump right over you, right? So I'm gonna do what I can to make sure that my home is safe. Where I see the burden of that gap is not in our businesses, but federal government, state government. I want to see tax credits, subsidies coming out of our government dollars to help protect those homeowners and business owners that are doing the right thing for the market. And I also want to see punitive measures for those who own land in California that don't live in California, that live out of the country and are not taking care of those fuel areas. Because fuel reduction is a real thing. We're seeing over and over again the extreme weather that's impacting us, and it does not feel like we're all in it together. It feels very distant.
Yes, selfishly, on behalf of new home builders, and when we build those homes, we build them pretty good and pretty fire resistant. So we get lower insurance rates, on the new homes or any other home that meets that criteria. Love to see that.
Thank you.
So, insurance also, I want to get this on your radar. As you know, Stanislaus County is one of the 7 covert counties under the CARE Act.
Yes.
It's going to have a care court.
Yes.
And the county, through the work of Supervisor Woodrow and others, has received extraordinary funding for both the care court, which serves severely mentally ill folks, and behavioral health bridge housing.
That's right.
And our organization will be provider of that housing. And guess what? We're having a very difficult time obtaining insurance for them. I think we're going to squeak through, but it's going to be at the expense of the rest of our insurance portfolio. In other words, they're going to spread the risk amongst the rest of it. So I'd just like to get it on your radar that as we pivot in California to meet the needs for housing in the communities, there may need to be some sort of a backstop legislatively to help out. There's funding for the housing. It doesn't mean we wouldn't pay the state for the insurance protection or the coverage, but a for-profit company may not be willing to provide that type of coverage for the type of housing we're providing. So just on your radar.
I absolutely agree. And I think this is where we come to, what are the incentives to do insurance business in California? I don't see any, right? So we need to make those incentives. One, we're going to meet our housing goals, right? That are mandates from the state. If we're going to ensure that we can continue to have healthy businesses and not order everything overseas and offshore things. So it really is all connected. And I think with the size of California, being really the size of the country, we have the ability, the resources, the technology to solve these issues. But until we break down the bureaucracy and we minimize the amount of government hands that are in the jar, we are going to struggle. And we're going to struggle by seeing mass exodus that we're going to start. Sorry, I don't talk in the folder. I kind of say what I want to say.
We have plenty of time left, so feel free.
Yes.
So you did an amazing job of bringing in 53 million this year, which is really kind of the budget outlook. What are your goals and aspirations for fiscal year 2024? And what does that look like? What priority areas are you looking to gain traction in funding?
So I spent my day yesterday with various partners of the Stanislaus Community Foundation United Way. Really, talking, anywhere from about 15 to 30 minutes about all these different programs that are happening in the county that they're looking at gap funding or support for grants. For me, that is how I operate. I like to have conversations directly because you live it every single day. I have, there's lots of lobbyists and associations that find us in Sacramento, but just like the Dago telephone as a kid, gets lost in translation. It's like I go directly to the source. So we had a very hearty conversation yesterday. Now, what many of our organizations don't realize is that I have a very small window to put into my budget requests. And so just like I did last year, I went around and I met with, or I solicited to meet with every single one of our county supervisors. There's 60 And so most of them accepted the invitation and we worked through the holidays. And that's how I was able to make sure that we got our budget requests in, which are due by early March. So that's a very small window to have to build relationships and then see what's best. Now, the other thing that I've been doing is, you know, I'm somewhat analytical, so I've been studying the Stanislaus 2050 plan, seeing what type of strategic plans are available at the different areas. I have 22 cities, Modesto being the largest. So, so I'm looking at what have you already done that will help to inform how we make those decisions and you know, build the best proposal possible. So every year is a little bit different about how much money we as senators are allowed to kind of push into our districts. So you can probably think, you know, some get a couple, you know, more, a couple of tens of millions of dollars more than others. But it all goes into advocacy in terms of saying this is what's right, this is what's needed. So for me, I'm looking at investments that the community at large can utilize, parks, infrastructure. I'm also looking for things that help boost our business economy and our tourism, because I want people to love to come to Stanislaus County and Senate District 4 and make those memories with their family, right? And take those away and say, hey, this is something we're going to do every year because we feel safe, we feel valued, included, and wow, this is an experience that I cannot get anywhere else in California. So that's what I think about. Coming from a nonprofit background, you know, I also know that it's demoralizing to apply for grant after grant after grant and be told no, when you know that you have the data that this works, and you know, just a couple $100,000 will make a difference, you know, and change the direction. So I also, you know, look at that, like, may not be billions of dollars, maybe a couple $100,000, but if that will put a park in West Turlock that is accessible for all families and kids, you know, that's where I'm focused as well.
Question back there.
Yeah.
And this is coming from a perspective that you put out of being fiscally conservative.
That's right.
And it ties into homelessness, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to attend today's meeting. The state is putting a lot of money behind the visual challenges that we see in really large cities, and they're spending tens if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Is being fiscally conservative, is there an opportunity to change the dialogue where trying to solve problems on a smaller scale in smaller cities first to benchmark for larger cities, is that an opportunity that can make a difference in communities, whether it be like Modesto or other rural communities, that then larger cities can benchmark off of, rather than spend a giant chunk of change, spend a smaller chunk of change and make it impactful?
The short answer is yes. Now, here's the problem. So I've gotten the number anywhere from 22 billion to 27 billion dollars that we've spent on homelessness in the last few years. And I thought I was mistaken. I even like was texting my staff, like, billion? It's billion. And I said, well, how many homeless people do we have in California? And the number was about 117,000. And I said, wow, that's more than what we have in the prisons. And I know that, you know, as we're moving more towards rehabilitation and having all these housing mandates, something's amiss here, right? And then I pulled out my calculator and I did the math. And if we were to hand a check to every single person that's homeless in California, rather than the 22 or 27 billion dollars, we would have given them enough for a down payment on a house, pay off school loans to go to a UC or Cal State, and then still have money saving in their pocket. So for me, there's a big problem with that, in that, you know, we are still not solving the problem of homelessness, but we're spending billions of dollars to do so. And there's no accountability, there's no measures or results to say, wow, this is where the tax dollars went and see what they helped to achieve. So the answer is yes, but I am doubtful. I'm doubtful that we will achieve that because homelessness has become politicized. There is a stigma around not wanting to fail with that much money on the table, but the reality is that we are a gross failure as a state when it comes to housing and homelessness. And you know, the dollars enough is the data for me to say that we have failed at. Now, I would say we have experts in solving the homeless crisis, but it is, it's a layered up, as my kids would say, they get it, odors and parfait are layers, right? And it's like, yeah, you have to attach what is the lowest hanging fruit. And we've got a certain age group of transitional age, youth, adults, foster youth, that we know, we have data that shows that if we help bridge that gap for them, which for me, education is that equalizer. And it can be education into a career, education into a business, education into investments, but something that helps to bring them out of that situation. I would rather put that money into helping that group and know that we're going to have solid outcomes, right? This is also the group that is of reproductive age. So can we break the cycle of poverty? Can we break the cycle of social indicators that continue to keep our homeless population, keep that cycle going, keep it fed? The other aspect of it for me is military veterans and our senior population. People that have grown up in California, worked for generations, for years, put their businesses, and can no longer afford to live in their homes, whether it's fire insurance is putting them out or the cost of living. I think, at some point in your life, when you have the privilege of retiring and California says, no, you can't afford to retire in California, there is a problem. There is a problem with that. So I'm really looking at the two extremes. I come from the mindset of, that we all have a contribution, a talent, and gift that creates an income. We need to, again, have consequences for that and make sure that we are contributing to our community, not just putting our hand out.
The governor is putting a mental health bond on the ballot.
Yes, he is.
I've heard snippets about it. What's your pros and cons?
The cons for me that the mental health bonds are enormous. And I feel that they are much needed, but I want to see the indicators of success. I want to see, again, if you were given a certain amount of dollars to achieve certain outcomes, what is the consequence of not achieving those outcomes, right? Do you continue to get another chance, right? Or, are we looking more and saying, okay, where are those X centers? Is it our schools? Is it our hospitals? Is it our cities that we need to focus that money towards? That's what I want to see. I want to see smart investments, and I am not convinced, based on previous bond measures, specifically around roads and transportation, that those investments are.
So at this point, you're neutral on the bond?
I don't believe I voted for the bond. I typically don't vote for bonds. I'm careful about water bonds and education bonds. But I think Jake can prove me wrong here, but I don't believe I voted for that. Guilt.
Hopefully there's a school bond on the November ballot.
Well, I spent the morning at Franklin Elementary School with Dr. Noguchi, and we talked about school bonds. So, I think, coming from education administration background too, I understand, the amount of money that we put into public education. Again, it's not that we don't have the money. We've got the money. It's how we spend it.
But one of the biggest issues facing the Central Valley and a lot of districts is healthcare and healthcare providers.
Right.
Mainly a lack of doctors and providers that are coming back to the area once they leave and go to larger hospital and different residencies like that. What have you experienced on the state level or people working with federal partners try to navigate that and address that issue?
Yeah, so we actually had one of those, rock bottom episodes in California with the closure of the Madera Hospital. And so what that did is it really catapulted the initiative around rural hospitals. And so working very closely with Senator Caballero, who has been, amazing at ensuring that we keep the voice of the Central Valley at the forefront. We were able to do a loan program for rural hospitals, and that money did come predominantly to rural hospitals and did not get absorbed in the Bay Area and Los Angeles. Now, again, that is a bailout. Call it for what it is. It's a bailout, but what it does is it increases the impact on rural hospitals and the need to have healthcare in rural communities. And very rarely in California have we seen rural initiatives take a place in the top 3 issues, and right now it has. The other thing that we've seen is in both houses, in the Assembly and the Senate, for the first time in decades, we have 2 rural leaders. Assembly Speaker of the House Rivas comes from a rural background, and now with Senate Pro Tem elect or designee McGuire. So I've been working with Senator McGuire for almost 20 years, and I feel very confident that we are in such a good position for rural policy, not just hospitals, but rural policy moving forward, and I'm excited to be part of that. Where we have failed is in Medicare reimbursements and making sure that our Medicare system is adequately reimbursing our healthcare providers, our hospitals, our doctors, our physicians. We keep our healthcare system. We have failed with that. And we are suffering the consequences of that. Now, I'm not here to promote universal healthcare. That's not what I'm coming at. I'm looking at a model that clearly has not had any adjustments to their reimbursement rates in almost 15 years in an economy that we've seen inflation. So that to me is just bad economics. That's, without a college degree like that. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, well, and with that, Kelly, there's another one. There's been a lot of talk about moving towards state-funded healthcare and taxpayer funded healthcare for everybody, single payer system. What does your office think about that? How do you feel about that? We talk about insurance, right?
Yeah. It depends who in my office you ask. Like I said, we have all different backgrounds.
Yeah.
We have not had the debate in my office. It's not in my top priorities. I think, when it comes to healthcare in California, that's one of those issues that we've debated for decades. We've been beating that piñata and no candy falls out, right? And so, for me, I have to go more to a microcosm. Like, the big issue for us this year was really the $25 an hour medical healthcare workers bill. And I'll tell you, when it hit my desk, it was everybody, $25 an hour. I don't care if you're working in Jackson and Sutter Hospital in Jackson, or you're, over at UCSF. And frankly, that to me is the naivety of my colleagues that, look at these one size fits all policies and just say, yeah, we all have to be equal. Well, that's not equal, because the reality is that, it's very difficult for us to attract and retain professionals in the rural community where maybe we don't have safety under control, or we don't have affordable housing, or we've got these building mandates that say if you're going to own land, you have to do X, Y, Z. I got that bill on my desk that said, they're going to start taxing me to pull water out of my well. Well, I maintain my well and I pay for my, it's like I'm going to fight that one. So that's what I look at. I look at do I want to, do I want my gray hairs to be attributed to universal healthcare and fighting that policy? Do I want to say, hey, I got a bill on my desk right now, and I'm going to make sure that my rural hospitals and clinics are not paying $25 an hour for their healthcare providers, as are the Los Angeles hospitals. So I'll tell you, 2 weeks before that bill went to the final floor vote, I sat down with the author and I said, I need you to go to a tier system. Sat down with the sponsors and they said, yeah, let's do a tier system. And so now the majority of our hospitals, district hospitals and rural hospitals, have 8 to 10 years to get to that place. That to me is doable. I'm not a big fan of mandates. I actually support them, but I also think that there's some standards that we can follow together and agree on. And that to me was a very healthy compromise in shutting down. Never works, even with this thing collision. Yes.
As a previous president of this organization for a long time, I developed a very cynical view of state government, all the interactions. And I would tell you that it's very refreshing to hear from someone who is taking a common sense approach to government, and not a political approach, but a common sense approach. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comment.
I double what Cecil said.
All right.
You are a big a voice of fresh air. There's so much nastiness up there. You approach things very well. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We got a first and a second.
So we were just, let's see where this goes.
Yes.
I'm gonna continue the commentary here. my boss wanted to thank you for all that you've done for Supervisor District 5. I can honestly tell you that my boss has loved working with you, and you mean exactly what you say. You deliver on results, and one of our top priorities, sidewalks and South Minnesota, would not be happy without sitting around Rob again. So we echo everyone's comments. That's not to disparage any other elected in the room, just pushing for doing, but working with you.
Thank you so much. I have a funny Chance Condon story if I can tell it.
Sure.
So,
We are recording.
okay, that's a funny story. Well, one, he used to be a rapper. That's the funniest story. So, yes, I've said that in public before. Yeah. Chance's father, Chad Condon, is my chief of staff. He also helped me in the campaign, in my general. And, you know, our conversation was like, wow, Condon's names everywhere. And I said, well, Chance Condon's gonna endorse me, right? And he's like, no, he thinks for himself. And I'm like, what? But he's your son. And he's like, no, you've got to earn that. And he made me earn that. And so to me, that just speaks to the integrity of Chance Condon as not only a leader, but as his own person. And so I love telling the story because, I think far too often, people make assumptions, right? And, I'm guilty of that as well. But I've grown to work very closely with Supervisor Condon. He represents the west side of Stanislaus. My daughter lives in Patterson and is taking her home there. She goes to school here in downtown Modesto. And he has been, just wonderful to be able to work with. So thank you. Yeah, and it does not take away from the other electeds that, we have built deep relationships with, but that's my funny Chance Condon story.
I guess I'll chime in on that to some degree, but I will address all of them. I think I actually just writing it in my progress letter. We're very blessed and fortunate with all the electeds that we have in office right now and our relationship and our work and our partnership. And you in particular, your membership and belief in what we're doing. We greatly appreciate that and that you invested back in us with a membership. We're in a good place. And as chambers in general, we are so thankful to have so much participation from our electeds, including your team in your office. You're always here. So thank you for that.
Of course. And I'll put my plug in for Congressman Duarte as well, because I think, working closely with him as well. People don't expect Democrats and Republicans to work together, but before we have party designations, we have our connections to the community. And from the beginning, him and I have partnered on water policy and wildfire prevention. And, he is the expert in water. And I don't pretend to know everything, but I do surround myself by people who are knowledgeable, gifted, and sincere. So that's my shout out. So.
It's been great to work with you as well.
Senator, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, we're finishing the first year, and I think I have a good flow of how things work in our district. I want to do more with Modesto Chamber. I think that there are some opportunities to really grow in our advocacy and how we build policy. I think that one area that I really missed in year one was what are your policy priorities? And what are those bills that you're watching that I need to have early intervention? And knowing that, Assemblywoman Laura Alanis and I work very closely in Sacramento and our teams work very closely. It's like that is a strong voice. That's a strong team that you have to make sure that we are on the map. The other thing that we're working on doing is building what I call field trips or fun days to come to Stanislaus County. It's like bringing those legislators that never stepped foot here. Right? If you step foot on the dairy farm or don't even understand how cheese is made, let them pick an in, right? So those are the type of things that I'm building those excursions, those field trips, because we all learn differently. And I'm a tangible learner, so I need to immerse myself to really understand what's going on. And there is so much for us to showcase here. So having your help to organize those, to get sponsors, to get speakers, to get our locations, I'll get them on the bus and I'll get them. So that's the other thing that I'm hoping we can accomplish together.
And bringing them here is a big deal. Assemblymember Alanis presented to our green team yesterday, and he shared a similar story being on a tour and listening to those who have never seen the ag region make comments about what it really looked like to them, and how they couldn't tell the difference between a dairy cow and a other cow. And
Our team, I'm Todd with Visit Modesto, so we represent tourism, destination marketing in the area. We've developed programs that we can actually take your partners and legislators out on, in the region throughout the entire county, from Patterson out to Roberts Ferry. And would be able to do so.
So that's what I need. That's what I need, the help of our chambers.
Sure.
Next week I'm speaking at the Cal Chamber Conference, and it's really, you know, we have El Dorado Hills, El Dorado, and with 13 counties, I've got a lot of chambers. And I know if we work together, we can really build some fabulous annual events. You know, and I think that's something that our sponsors are looking for, something that our community needs. And it puts us on the map, it puts those headlines out that we want to tell. So let's drive our own narrative, because I don't believe in being on the defensive. I come from a prevention mind. It's just like build the story, the narrative that you want out there, because if not, others are doing it for you.
Very good. Anything else? We're at 12:40 here. So Senator, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. I know it's been a long time coming. It's hard to get on your schedule, but we really appreciate it. You're welcome here anytime. If you want us to plug you in next October and make this an annual thing,
I would love to.
I'm
grab
fine
your
by that.
slot, if that's okay.
As great, I'll plug you in. As Trish mentioned, thank you for your membership. Also, thank you for sponsoring lunch and providing a hot meal for us. That brings me great joy to sit here as a group and break bread together and have these great conversations with our elected officials. I'd like to give a shout out, much like Trish, to your staff. Jacob and the rest have been here representing you very, very well from day one. And they attend these religiously to report out, and we always love hearing from you. So I appreciate that very much. You like Dr. Pepper, and I noticed that you dropped the L from Ammon, so you're welcome here anytime. You're speaking our language, and we have a lot in common.
Born and raised here.
Yeah, so next month, Friday, November 17th, we will hear from Congressman John Duarte in person. We're looking forward to that as well. Kirsty, who is our chairwoman of the board of directors for the Modesto Chamber of Commerce, will be sponsoring his lunch. So we have all of you covered. Another nice hot meal. As we go into the holiday season, we are dark in December and are still looking forward to a wonderful kickoff to 2024. If you have any guest speakers that you'd like to hear from, please send them my way via email, text, or phone call or whatever. Send them to Trish or staff. We want to start building out another solid 2024 guest speaker schedule now to get ahead of it and start promoting that and raising awareness. So and EDC speakers as well. Shout out to John Valines, who's still on. John, I told you I wouldn't put in a plug for you, but I am, so you owe me one. If anybody has any EDC speakers they'd like to hear from, we won't turn those down either.
Yeah.
He's coming off mute here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Hey, real quick, since give me a full shout out. So November 1st, we are having a joint meeting, EDC meeting at Economic Development Committee with the Stanislaus Latino Chamber of Commerce at Papaloni's. Lunch will be provided on McHenry, and it's going to be the Stan State's economic forecast presentation. So that'll be a good one. That is Wednesday, November 1st, 12 to 1, and lunch is provided.
Only comment there is it will be present. We're still in need of sponsorships for that one to be able to provide a nice lunch.
Yes. If you'd like to sponsor, contact Trish or myself. We can have one person sponsor lunch or get multiple sponsors. Either way works for us. So thank you.
Right on. If there's no further questions, we'll adjourn the meeting at 12:40, give you 20 minutes back on your day. Have a safe and wonderful weekend, and we'll see you in 30 days.
And another plate of food if you'd like.